Hi guys, this is the final instalment in the Tamiya Panigale video. So here's the model kit. Just give you a bit of a brief preview, sort of an all-round view, and I will get some sort of more detailed close-up shots towards the end of this video, but that gives you an idea, and there it is sitting on its paddock stand. It does of course have a working side stand somewhere along here, if I can find that and fiddle it out. There we go. As most, pretty much all Tamiya kits with side stands of course have, excepting the racing versions and such like, because they sit exclusively on paddock stands. Everything for weight reduction. So there's the kit completed. I'm trying to be very careful with this because I did actually break a few parts during the process of putting on the fairing panels. What I was trying to do was video myself putting on the panels so that you could see the final assembly steps. The problem is this highlights specifically why I don't like building on video, because not only are you messing around with fiddly things, you're trying to hold a model, you're trying to attach things and all that kind of business. You're also trying to keep it in the frame of the camera, which is very difficult, and it makes things extra tricky. So essentially during the process I will include some of those fitting clips after this section here. But during the process I managed to break off the left-hand handlebar, I managed to break off part of the chain cover on the rear swing arm, and just odd little bits and pieces like that. And so I've had to recover and re-glue those and reattach them. So I decided the best thing to do was just go ahead, assemble everything together, and then show you the completed model, which I'm going to do in just a moment. But first of all, I'm just going to have a quick sort of general overview of the kit. The kit itself, what is it like to build? As with every Tamiya model, pretty much every Tamiya model that I've built so far, even the older ones, as with every Tamiya model I've built so far, even the older ones, it practically falls together itself. That's not to say there aren't tricky bits. Sometimes you have to wiggle a bit to get it into place, but as model kits go, you typically don't get better fitting than Tamiya kits. The assembly is superb. Everything slots together just so. There were a few little bits and pieces that caused me problems on this kit. The decals, as mentioned in previous videos, I think I must have just gotten a bad batch of the decals for this particular kit, because I have seen other ones built, photographs of completed models built online that have got the red tape on the wheels without a problem, and the oil window decal without a problem, and things like that. But I have had nothing but trouble with them settling onto anything other than a smooth glossy surface, such as the tank or the fairing panel or what have you. The rear tailpiece, for example, that kind of thing. These all went quite well because it's smooth, glossy and flat, and there's virtually nothing it has to conform to. So I think I must have just gotten perhaps an early release model with a bad batch of decals. It's the first time I've ever had a Tamiya model with decals that just didn't want to play. So it's a little bit disappointing there, but that's the only real complaint that I have about this kit. And the other thing that I found very tricky was fitting the seat pad to. It fits into a poly bushing which you glue into the fuel tank. When you glue that together, you fit a poly bushing in there, and there's a pin on the front of the seat pad that slots in. And I had a real struggle sort of squeezing that in and getting that all to fit with the seat fitting down here properly. And as you can see there's a little bit of a gap between. Let me move myself out of the frame and back in the frame, so hopefully you can see that clearer. There's a little bit of a gap between these panels here, which I'm not 100% happy about, but again, this is something I've seen on completed models, pictures of completed model kits in magazines and online. So it's clearly not an uncommon problem. What I might do at some point is pop these off and make something that can actually pin these together. It depends. I mean, I might just leave as is for now and see how that goes. Otherwise, everything else fitted together excellently. I'm very pleased with the way the forks turned out. To say that these are painted forks out of the box, and then the extra bits, as mentioned, that I glued on: the foot pegs, which were done after the fitting of the fairing panels, and the mirrors, which were done after the fitting of the fairing panels. The mirrors glued on with cyano, with super glue, and as you can probably see there, you've got a really good reflection on the mirrors. Very realistic. I like those, as I mentioned in the last video. Very nice indeed. So yes, the whole thing slots together very, very nicely. It behaves very well, and the detail is absolutely stunning. It's incredible, as you would expect from a Tamiya kit. All in all, I am incredibly pleased with this kit. It was a joy to build. Apologies that it took so long for those of you who've been watching the entire build. Apologies that it took so long to get to the completion of it. I hope you've enjoyed the video series despite the delays, but I kind of lost my desire for modelling part way through, and that sort of put a damper on things for a couple of months, hence the delay. But for a dedicated build, you could whip through this in, if you really wanted, you could get through this in a week. A couple of weeks you could make a very, very good finish on the model kit. You could super detail it if you wanted to with extra little bits, like you could run wires down from the fork tops as per the proper thing, using some vinyl tubing or what have you. I like it as it is, and I'm not going any further than that. There's no point in detailing anything further underneath the fairing panels unless you are going to display it with the fairing panels off. If you are going to display it with a fairing panel off, my personal recommendation, the one that I would go for, would be the left hand side, because the right hand side has the nice little feature of the exhaust, part of the exhaust pipe showing through. And then the left hand side has all of the interesting details, such as the Öhlins shock unit and all the bracketry for the suspension and such like. So I would display it personally with the left hand fairing panel off if you're going to go that way. Fiddly bits, none specifically. When you're fitting the fairing panels, you have to make sure that you slide them behind the gear change lever on the left hand side and the foot brake on the right hand side, because they slide sort of underneath those, then onto a locating peg on this black plastic portion here, and then you've got two screws, one down here and one up here, and then the same on this side, one down here and one up here to hold the fairing panel in place. So enough of me talking. I'm going to put that down there a moment. What I'm going to do now is show you some close-ups, video close-ups of the bike. Then I'm going to put on some of the clips of me fitting the panels, just so you can get a bit of an idea of what goes on there, and you'll have to excuse the sort of fumbling and going out of frame and what have you. And then I'm going to, at the end of this video, I shall include some still photo shots to give you an idea of, hopefully, an accurate representation of the colour and detail. As soon as I can get some photo shots, that might be in a separate video, we'll see how that goes, but as soon as I'm able, I will do that. I will get some I'll get some photos so you can see the colour more accurately than it appears under incandescent light, because it's a beautiful shade of red. It's Humbrol number 220, by the way. It's Ferrari red. It's brighter than their number 19, which is a darker red. Enough of that. Over to the model. Next step is the headlight assembly. Now that we've got the mudguard on, so I don't need to worry about this getting in the way. So we push that on until it stops, until it clicks into place, and then we take our headlight, making sure it's the right way up, with the pinhole at the top, and this simply slots on, pushes onto there until it physically will not go in any further. So there's the front of the bike. That's one side on. The other side, and 3 simple bits you'll see when this is on. So if I can kind of get this on the camera so you can have a bit of an idea. This black section here sort of hooks in behind the light, the chrome and the LED, the chrome and the clear portion, and then the pin clips into the front. So that all pulls together there, making a nice shaped rear assembly. Then the next portion, the left hand side there, is this bit here, which has 2 locating pegs underneath, and this aligns and then clips into place. Now, I have noticed on pictures of models that you seem to get a bit of a gap here, so I think I may have to actually use a dab of glue just to actually pull that together a little, but for the meantime that will do. So that's the rear assembly done. The next step is the fuel tank, which locates into 2 pins on the front, and then once they're in place slots down on the back like so, and now as you can see it's looking more like a motorbike already. We then take the rear seat. Now I want to be careful with this because it's got a locating peg at the bottom, but the way it's shaped, it would be quite easy, I think, to scratch the tank putting this on. The front one simply slots onto the front. I'm going to try and do this very, very carefully so that I'm not risking damaging that handlebar, which is still nothing like fully set. I've also re-glued the other side, so I've basically glued the right and the left ones again. Okay, so there we go, and that simply slots in like that. So as you can see, it's looking much more like the box art already. Yeah, it's looking very nice in fact. And I can see me losing this left hand handlebar before I've completed this, and unlike the right hand side, you need to locate, so similar thing under the gear shifter pedal, to slide the fairing underneath it and then locate that pin into there so it fits very, very neatly, whoops, like so, around there, and then the top bit in theory should just slot into place as the other side did. Breaking everything. Not good.